Hey family.
Family.
In this video, we're going to talk about 11 keys to mastering communication in your relationship.
Let's get into it. All right, 11 keys to mastering your communication in your relationship. Number 1, listen to your partner speaking instead of waiting your turn to talk. We were both about to say something at the same time.
The key aspect is too many people are trying to respond versus receive.
Right.
So you want to make sure you're hearing clearly and not get caught up or offended in the process to listening, because listening is one of the most difficult things to do.
It's not a competition when you guys are having a conversation. So make sure when you're listening, you're not listening to say your point, because a lot of times when you do that, they could tell you 5 different things, but you don't listen to anything but the first thing because you're trying to respond to that one thing instead of hearing them out totally. Because what happens sometimes in communication is they could feel a certain way when they first start, and then after they've processed information by speaking it, then they have a different thought on it, but you didn't even get that part because you were so ready to respond to the first point you heard.
Number 2, be honest, be upfront, be truthful. It's very hard to help a process out if you're not speaking in truth.
Right.
Communication is one of the hardest things to do, and it's so often that they've said that what hurts businesses the most is poor communication. So even in sports, communication. So we have to make sure that we're honest in our communication so that the person can receive and understand exactly how we feel and not hide our feelings, but be honest in our communication.
Number 3, don't be stubborn, compromise. You want to compromise. You're not going to always agree on everything in your relationship. But the key aspect is you compromise on some of the things that you want to do or that your spouse wants to do so that you guys can come to a middle ground. You're not going to agree on everything, and you're not going to get your way all the time. You're not single anymore. So you have to compromise.
Number 4, communicate towards a resolution without hyper-focusing on the problem.
Oh, that's good.
We're going to have issues.
Right.
We're going to have disagreements, and we have to be able to navigate through those challenges. Everyone will have something that gets on your nerves.
A good communication tip: when there is an issue, bring the issue up once at the very beginning of the conversation. Don't continue to repeat the offense over and over and over again, because guess what? You're not going anywhere. You're like a parked car in your conversation. You can't get past that one point in order to come up with a solution. The whole point in communicating about the problem is to come up with a what? A solution. So make sure that you're focusing more on the solution and the plan to erect the solution than to focus on what the problem was, because the problem is your past. The solution is your future.
Number 5.
Number 5.
Don't dismiss feelings. Let me tell you something. Though you don't agree, doesn't mean the feeling's not real.
Right.
Everyone's feeling is real to them. Whether you believe it or not, you have to honor that, because that's how they feel. So when understanding how a person feels, you have to have empathy, sympathy. You have to kind of walk it down with them. Because just because it doesn't matter to you doesn't mean it doesn't matter to them.
Right. Number 6, don't talk over each other or interrupt each other when you're talking. What happens when you interrupt each other, the person doesn't get their point out all the way. So when they don't get their point out and you're interrupting them constantly, they felt like of course they weren't heard, and they feel like they have to repeat themselves several times in order to get their full thought out. So you're being ineffective.
Disrespectful too.
And disrespectful. So one of the tools that we show couples to do, if you guys have an issue in your relationship with interrupting each other when you're talking, is grab something that you can use as a microphone. You grab something as easy as a pen or a pencil, and whoever has the mic can talk. Now, the rule of thumb is you can only have the microphone for a certain amount of time. So if you have a long-winded spouse, then you may want to say there's a 90-second time limit.
2 minute, 3 minute,
2 minute, right, whatever it is. And then have even a timer, because sometimes people don't realize how long-winded they are. And then once they pass the mic, I cannot speak anymore. They have the floor.
I got the microphone, okay? So that means you have to keep your mouth shut. Got it?
And don't abuse it. What is your point with it? How do you think this is beneficial?
I have the microphone, you need to be quiet. Okay? I have the microphone, you need to be quiet. And then after this, you need to get naked. Okay? You need to get naked. And we're gonna go lay down.
This is where we're going.
So the gist of it is the microphone is a tool by which we can communicate whose turn is to talk and whose turn is to listen. That's the gist of it. All right, number 7.
Number 7.
Watch body language. Beware of the body language. Because oftentimes what their words may not be saying, their eyes, their neck,
their facial
expressions, all those things are speaking to us, but we're not reading them.
And I think with this point as well, it makes you more aware of your body language. So if you're used to somebody that does this, if you're usually somebody that, crosses their arms, or you talk with your hands, it can come across as being aggressive.
Totally.
You talk with your neck.
Oh, why your neck move like that? Are you a snake?
Well, it can come across. So if that is something that you normally do or you normally practice, it might be something that you might want to be more aware of, so you can stop doing it.
It's amazing that people don't do that at work.
So you're saying that they are intentional at work, but not really paying attention at home.
Correct. People feel as if they have a little bit more liberty, which I understand they do, but my point is the respect factor.
Right.
You would not do that with your boss.
Right.
Don't do that with your wife or your husband. All right, number 8. God bless you.
Thank you.
Choose your battles wisely. You are not going to fight over everything. I would say this: if it's not worth the fruit, it's not worth the fight.
Right.
Some fights, some arguments are not worth it. Give it away. Let it go.
One of the consistent things that couples say that are in long-term marriages, relationships, they will say, I'm not going to argue with them over something that I feel like they're more passionate about than I am. If it's not that big of a deal for you, or you don't feel like it's a deal breaker for you, and you know your spouse is passionate about it, let them have that.
Correct. The next one, number 9.
Number 9.
Practice good communication skills in repeating back what you heard.
Right. This is so good, because a lot of the miscommunication is eliminated in this one tip.
Correct.
Once I've heard something from Jomo, then he allows me to say, okay, this is what I heard you said. Is this correct?
Correct.
And then he is allowed to then either correct the way he communicated whatever it was to me, or he can say that was correct. And then it allows me to respond in a proper fashion, because sometimes we respond to something that our spouse said wrong because we heard it wrong.
Correct.
And it's both our responsibilities to hear it right and respond correctly.
Correct. Number 10, check in regularly. How are you doing? How are we doing?
Right.
How am I doing as a husband? How am I doing as a wife? How's our sex life? Oh, I'm telling you, I don't want to hear this. I know y'all don't want to hear this. How do you think we're doing with finances? And have some real honest conversations about where are we in our relationship. Now you have to be in a good place to ask these questions.
Right.
Because oftentimes you're in a bad place. This may not be a good conversation, but the goal is to communicate where we are. It's funny, we had a class last month called Kingdom Marriage. It closed out. When we started off, we had a lot of marriages at 5s. At the end of the class, the lowest marriage was a 7. Well, guess what? We only knew that because we communicated and we had people survey where they were.
Right.
You regularly need to have a survey or a checkup on your marriage, your relationship. How are we doing? What are we doing?
Right.
Are you good? Are you not good? Is there anything I could do better?
And the purpose of this, keep in mind the purpose is to come up with solutions to whatever the issues may be or the challenges may be. It's not a pity party and a time for apologies. Oh, I'm sorry for this. Oh, I'm sorry for that. Oh, I'm sorry for this. No, it's a time to come up with solutions like, okay, you've identified an issue or an area that we can work on. How can we make this area better? Let's come up with a solution together.
Correct. And lastly, show appreciation. You can't say thank you enough. You can't say, I love it when you do this.
Right.
I love it when you do that. You can't do it enough.
Right.
People need to hear how you feel about them as often as possible.
Right. You often say, what gets rewarded
gets done.
Yeah.
So you got to say it regularly and routinely. Well, we hope this video helped you.
And please, if you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. And if you have not gone on our website, jomoandcharmaine.com, please visit our website. We have a free gift for you by visiting. And remember,
love,
laugh,
and learn.
God bless you.